Greetings and welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. I'm your host, Dr. G, and I am so glad that you picked our program. Tonight's guest, going the holistic feminine coach, Tanisha Robinson, has been in the health and wellness field for 9 years, during which time she worked as a supplement coach, health consultant, personal trainer, spiritual guide, and body specialist. After formulating tincture protocols to assist her eldest son, Tanisha began sharing her passion for holistic health with the community. Since then, she has assisted with over 30 different ailments and hundreds of clients. Tanisha has always been an advocate for self-love and healing with her own first, and then the community. With her experience in the health and wellness field, and apart from mind, body, and spiritual living of the collective, redemption and prosperity generations to come, as she empowers families with the wisdom needed to advocate for themselves in the doctor's offices and in life itself. Tanisha Robinson believes that the focus is healing is internal. That as the body was designed to heal itself, so shall it do. Tonight, we are going to discuss how when we take wellness into our own hands, healing happens. Please help me. Welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. My guest, Tanisha Robinson. Welcome to Office Hours. How are you?
I am doing great. I'm loving this theme song.
Rock a little bit with it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's my little theme song. And I've got to plug this music still playing when I'm finishing intro. Just do a little bit to it.
Oh yeah. I've been the whole time you was doing my value. I'm like, okay, I like this.
All right. Listen, y'all, before we get started, I like to say, come on, hit that like, hit that share, because we're gonna hear some really exciting information. I'm excited just because of what we just talked about before we went live. So I want you to hit like, hit share, and if you haven't already done so, of course, I always want you to subscribe to the channel. Now, this sister has a lot of information to share with us, and of course, as always, and let me just put this up front. Just let me just say this. I'll read this. That the views and opinions expressed by hosts and guests of Official House of Reawakening Minds and Office Hours with Dr. G are not necessarily those of House of Reawakening Minds. Presentations regarding sensitive matters such as health and wellness information, products, or services are made strictly for educational and entertainment purposes and are not meant to take the place of qualified professional advice. With that, we get that out the way.
Right.
I'd like to welcome you to the house, and you all who are in the chat. Like I said, let me get this little crazy stuff that just showed up on here, because we get somebody that sometimes they want to put some crazy stuff on there. But you all, I need you to share. I sound like that other sister. Share. But I want you to, I want to really have folks get this information. Tanisha, I was impressed. I came across your interview on Willie D Live, and I listened. I was fascinated by your testimony and what you have been able to do in a short period of time. But it really is a testament to your, what we say, anointing, your gifting, your calling, actually operating in that. So if we want to, let's go back. I didn't read anything about what happened prior to 9 years ago when you started, really being active as a holistic health and wellness coach and all the other things you do. But let's go back to earlier. Were you always, even as a young person, involved in like wanting to heal people, help people? You know how some people like, I want to be a doctor, I always want to be a nurse. Or how about you? What did you want to do?
I wanted to be an engineer actually, but I've always been the elder of my group. Like I started when I was 19, I mentored my first 49-year-old. Okay, so that kind of gives you a gist of,
Okay,
of how
okay,
it was. And so in all of my friend groups, I was always the auntie. Like I had the energy of the elder. And I was always helping people solve their problems. I always had the recommendations. I was always pretty conscious of what to eat and what not to. And so, in a nutshell, yes, I didn't know that I was going to be a doctor. I was going to be an engineer in my mind. But of course, fear completely derailed that whole plan. It was just like, no, ma'am, that's not what we got. Okay, that's cute, but that's not what we got.
so you did not pursue engineering at all?
No, ma'am, not at all. I actually went to the Navy, and I was just like, you know what? I was always in honors classes. I was always in like the AP classes, really high GPA. And so I was going to college every summer since sixth grade. So I was really gifted and talented intellectually. And so by 10th grade, I realized that I wasn't interested in it. I was bored in class because I was ahead of everyone, right? So in the
Yeah.
summertime, here I am in ninth grade taking AP biology, and by the time I was in 10th grade, I'm taking the advanced math classes and calculus and all this good stuff like that. I actually took calculus in ninth grade, so I was really ahead, and I found myself being bored and skipping class and doing stuff that wasn't studious. And I realized by the time I got to 12th grade, I was like, you know what? If I go to college, my parents are going to be broke and paying this stuff back for the rest of their life. They're going to have to pay back scholarships because I'm going to lose them. Because I realized I was mature enough to know that, okay, although I still graduated school with a 3.6, okay, the prior year it was a 4.2. So I saw the drastic drop in my GPA, which was still great, like I said, but I noticed that and I just knew I was bored and I was going to ruin my scholarship. So I went to the Navy, and from there, everything just started to shift.
How so?
So I was in the Navy and I dealt with some issues with narcolepsy. And so it really forced me to start to try and learn about what was going on because it was just so pushed under the rug and it disqualified me from being in the military. Okay. So nobody in my family has narcolepsy. This was something that just fell out of thin air. I feel like it was spirit like trying to guide me to where I was supposed to be.
Something
I
else,
feel like,
yeah.
yes, exactly. I think I came to the military to meet my husband and to get on out. That's what I think it was. Oh, because everything. Go ahead.
Yeah, listen, I went into staying long enough to get my what is it, the housing thing for when you can buy
Uh-huh.
your house. I
Oh, yeah.
stayed in long enough to get that.
You
And
was
I
like,
got out.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, something happened, and I had to leave, and I had to leave, and I left honorably.
For
So
sure.
it
Exactly.
was for that. But yeah, so okay, so I was looking at myself, and I'm like, my screen is so big, and you look so small, and I was trying to figure out how I can make myself smaller.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. It's just that you're on your phone, and I got a
Mhm.
real close up of myself, but I'll fix me. That's all right. It's
Okay.
not about me anyway. So you left. You met your husband in the Navy, and you came out, and I guess you did the traditional got a as we call it a job.
Well, I actually couldn't because narcolepsy was literally, I could not stay awake driving. I couldn't stay alone by myself. They wouldn't even let me leave the hospital with my son alone, and because my husband was going to go deploy, and so they wouldn't let me leave the hospital by myself with my son. They were just like, "Look, ma'am, we've been sitting here since you had this baby, and you falling asleep every time talking to us. Like, you can't just go home with this baby by yourself." So it was real bad, and so it just seemed to get better as I started to look at the more holistic options. So all of the medications, I was gonna breastfeed my baby. That wasn't an option. So I didn't want to take those class C medications, right? Class C are, hey, this may hurt the baby, it may not. We don't have enough research on it, okay? And I
Okay.
wasn't willing to take that chance. So that's pretty much where I began to look into the more holistic options, and that was kind of like my first little introduction to the herbs.
So now I heard you say that you were trying to take care of a situation with your eldest son. Was that the situation, or was there something else
No.
that came up? Okay.
Back in, let's see, he was 2 months from being 2 years old. So back in 2018 is when this happened.
Okay.
So he was visiting my in-laws. Okay, we had, mind you, since he was born, he had a really big hernia, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger. And so my intuition just kept telling me to ask the doctors every appointment. Okay, we had moved in 3 different states, and every time I would go ask the doctors, what is it with this hernia? And they're just like, oh, when he turns 5, we'll be able to do the surgery and close it up. Everything's fine. I'm like, well, his poop is still watery. What's up with that? His stomach is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. They kept blaming it on the hernia. Oh, he's breastfed. Sometimes that happens. And I just could not give it up. I couldn't give it up. And so one time he was with my in-laws, and they called us and were like, look, he has to be admitted to the hospital because they did some x-rays, and his colon is the size of an adult male's head, and his bladder is 5 times its normal size. Okay, we're talking about a baby who's not even 2. So you can imagine how huge his stomach was. Okay.
Yes.
Um, and so he had to get an ileostomy bag. He had to go through a bunch of surgeries. We were in the hospital for 2 months. He had surgery after surgery after surgery after surgery. And we were pretty much in and out of the hospital for 2 years. Okay. And during that 2 years pretty much, let me rewind a little bit. So during that, when he got his ileostomy bag, his recovery was awful, and he was just lying in a pool of throw up. And I just remember vividly seeing every bone in my baby's body. You know how you can see a spine and you can see every vertebra? Yes, that's how he was. His ribs, his shoulder blades, like you could just see him, and his eyes were pretty set back. And he was just laying in his throw up. He was just vomiting. He was just laying there. He wouldn't even move. And he was just looking at me. And I knew what that look meant. I knew it meant like, Mama, I can't do this. And
Right.
so I promised my baby, this still makes me emotional. I promised him, I said, baby, if you stay here with Mommy, because children are more close to the divine than we are, right? He's so young. He doesn't have the connections to family members and good memories and things that'll make him want to stay here. And so I knew, I was just like, baby, if you stay here with Mommy, I promise you, I will never be in a situation where I have to depend on someone outside of me to love you more than I do to take care of you. And because it was so scary for me, like these doctors have all of these patients, and I have to trust that their heart is in the right space with my baby. And that scared the crap out of me. It did not sit well. And I began to buy every book I could. I don't know how much money I spent, okay, on education. And I didn't go to school for it. I'm completely self-taught, but I got every book that I could possibly get, okay. And I began to study how the body works. I began to study the gut, and understanding that the gut is the first thing that it actually forms in the womb, right? So they call it the second brain. It's actually the first brain. Okay, you get this. It's called a blastocyte, and it ends up getting 2 openings. The first one is the lips, and then after that, the one at the bottom is the anus, right? And so from there, it ends up elongating, and that's where you get the nervous system. So it's there, the gut is there even before the brain. And so I began to understand just how much the gut flora is important, and how the gut pretty much controls everything that happens in our bodies. 70% of our immune system is there. 70 to 85% of our immune system is housed there. And so I began to just study how the body worked together. And then from there, once I understood that, I was able to take that and understand, okay, cool, this enzyme is actually in this plant. So if I take this plant and look at the deficiencies that are happening with this ailment, I can replicate that. And so that is what I began to do. And I formulated what's called Eli's Gift for my son. And it has kept us out of the hospital going on 4 years now. So everything is just, everything was built off of that. And when I began to do that with him, of course, I changed our diet. I began to heal things within myself. And the community was watching, and people started asking for things. Before I knew it, I had cancer patients and diabetes patients and kidney failure patients, and it's just grown into what it is today.
Well, let's go back to your first introduction into your own journey of study dealing with the gut, because we hear so much these days. In the last, I want to say, me personally, I've maybe been hearing about the importance of the gut and leaky gut, so many other things, the flora. We've heard about parasites, and everybody got books over here. Everybody has parasites, and the monster within and all that stuff. But no one up until like in the last 5 years or so, for me, have I started hearing really about the importance of the gut. Now, when you say your first brain, yeah, I get that, because when we talk about the our intuition and so forth, we would say, I got this gut feeling, or I, just kind of, and of course, the solar plexus, when we talk about the chakras and so forth, how
Absolutely.
important the emotions, and it's like you hear something bad, and it's like a punch in the gut, in the stomach. I mean, just the fact that it is such a sensitive organ, if you will, of our body. So the fact that we overlook that, and it's so important, maybe, and I'm asking you, is perhaps that the reason why there may be so many illnesses that seem to be misdiagnosed, but if you would deal with, say, this thing over here, perhaps you would, it would automatically address some other things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, just think about it in this simple term. I wouldn't even go super deep here. Just think about how many people get rid of a lot of ailments just simply from detoxing. The skin begins to clear up. Their breathing gets better, right? So we have 6 elimination pathways. Okay. I had a brother ask me, like, hold up, wait, I know about 4, but what do you mean 6? I know about 3, but what do you mean 6? And I just break them into, deeper ones. And I'll talk about that in a little bit when it fits. But if you look at those things, you can see how they're directly connected to the gut. Any lung issue, directly connected to the gut. Like, it's a detoxification organ. People don't realize that the lungs are there to detox. When you inhale deeply, that is. So we do a lot of shallow breathing, which affects our adrenal glands, which makes us more stressed out, which makes us breathe shallow even more. And that's when you get things like pneumonia, different asthma, bronchitis, all these respiratory ailments. And it's all connected to the
How
gut.
about COPD and all
Yes.
that stuff?
Absolutely, absolutely. Breath work helps tremendously. And so you were asking if we just start to focus on the gut. I was saying, like, if you detox, a lot of people see so many benefits from simply detoxing. We're not even going into the rest of the stuff, but simply detoxing. Why is that? Because when you start to cleanse out that colon and get all of that extra gunk out of there, and then you repair. So people detox a lot, but they don't begin to repair the gut microbiota. They don't take the probiotics and then feed the probiotics with prebiotics, which is food, right, for the good bacteria. And you need that with fresh fruits and vegetables and different things like that have those enzymes to feed those things. So if you just simply focus on the gut, and of course there are onesie twosies, but focusing on the gut will literally, you'll see a lot of things just go away.
Yeah. Now, I do. You're not really familiar with it, but I mentioned to you, I think the first time we actually spoke, when I do AO scans on people, a lot of times when I do the first thing, it's called inner voice. Now, inner voice is a scan of what it says, the voice. It's the external voice, but it's picking up what's going on internally. And in 10 seconds, it's telling not only what, might be going on from a emotional standpoint, but it's talking about it tells you what might be happening physiologically as a result of the emotion. And 9 times out of 10, I see where somebody needs, um, like you said, prebiotics, probiotics. They might need mid meal. There's something that you take in mid meal. I forgot what it's called, or hydrochloric acid. There's different things,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
they're always the issues of the emotion seem to be tied to something that they need to do in the gut.
Just getting stressed all the time slows down your gut transit. Like, you can't poop properly when you're so stressed out and tense. It literally slows down the time that food can be processed through your gut. Your emotions are directly tied to the gut.
And so what else would affect maybe that, and especially when you just said emotion, so I'm thinking about the times that we are currently and living in, and especially over the last 2.5 years or so, 2 years or so, things are, it just seems like there's a barrage of things that could be really, to some, become stressful, because some folks just don't have the constitution to be able to listen to a whole bunch of stuff and go, and just cut. But people internalize things, and when you internalize, like me, I'm someone who talks to lots and lots and lots of people because of me being public, because of my work with Grand Chic, and a lot of folks can't get to him, so they call me. So I'm like a buffer. No, I mean, really, I'm a buffer between him and the world. And most of them want him, not me. But but they still reach out to me. And as a result of that, I have to put up a shield because I hear a lot of things. And so that empathic part of me says, I don't want to take this. I don't want to feel the emotions of this.
Yes.
But you start to take on the cares of the world, so to speak, and you feel it here. It's like it's just a sense of like knots and so forth. So even with that, how do you recommend when you find out maybe one of your clients might be dealing, like you mentioned, stress, but dealing with just say overwhelming say emotions or dealing with other people's stuff? How does one begin to separate, become more sympathetic and less empathetic? That's what I want to say.
Okay, so my favorite thing for slowing down the biological system, first off, we are already as a people, our adrenal glands are passed down from our ancestors, and they're pretty much, they're shot. Okay, they're in a state of fight or flight just from even being born. Okay, just think about the times in the womb where our mothers were worried about food or worried about whether or not our fathers would come home because of all of the bad times. If we go further back into the actual slavery days, you had to worry about, like, look, baby, you have to do exactly what, that's where the whoopings came, right? I got to whoop you because if not, master gonna get to you and you might not come back. And so we lived in this state of fight or flight. And so when I get someone who comes, if they're melanated, I'm already off of the top, like looking at those things. That's why the high blood pressure, the kidney disease, the diabetes, the cholesterol issues run rampant in our community because of poor gut brain axis. Okay, so that's the bad gut health, and then the adrenal glands are weakened. Well, they feed off of each other. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
So if your adrenal glands, by the way, are two little pyramid shaped organs that sit on top of the kidneys. And so they receive signals from your pituitary gland. And so it connects the endocrine system, which is your hormone system, and the neurological system, okay, the brain. So that's what I mean by the gut brain axis. Okay. If your gut is weak, if you don't have the proper microbiomes in your gut, then it pretty much weakens the rest of the systems. Okay. So when I get someone who comes in and they're dealing with a bunch of stress, I immediately like, okay, cool, we need to detox. And I'm not just talking about the gut. We're going to detox the lymphatic system, which is your body's sewage system. We're going to detox the blood because we're dealing with some adrenal issues. And then we're going to also detox the gut. So this is going to cleanse the body physically. And then we do things like breath work. Okay, you're going to do at least 10 minutes of breath work every single day. Why is this? Because it's teaching you to breathe in deeper, which is going to switch you from that, the sympathetic to the parasympathetic, right? It's going to slow you down. It's going to help you to focus. It's going to help you to center yourself and be present. We're also going to detox our environment because people think about, oh, the body can't heal in a toxic environment. And they think about internally, like, no, externally as well. If you have a bunch of stressful people in your life, if you have a bunch of people who live opposite to you and don't respect the differences. It's okay to be around people who are different, but you don't want to be around people who make you feel like you're bad for doing something opposite of what it is that they're doing. Like if you're on this diet or you're on this health kick or whatever have you, they're always, oh, girl, you gonna pass out. You don't eat no meat. You know what I'm saying? Like, you look like you were going to say something. I want to.
No, 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 no.
Okay. Okay. Cool beans. So I have them detox the mind, and then we do the breath work, and then we start to do meditations. Okay. So visualizing themselves free of the toxins, visualizing themselves free of stress, doing an inventory of their environment. So it's not so much where we just focus only on what's happening in the body. We have to look at it from a holistic perspective and ensuring that we produce an environment that's conducive to healing.
Well, that's okay. So you, like you said, you're looking at a lot. You're not just say, oh, you need this herb, you need that, because I noticed that you also you've been are you a personal trainer, or
Yeah, I'm a
do you?
certified personal trainer as well. I don't go out in the gym and train people and anything like that anymore, but I am certified as a personal trainer. So just to understand how the muscles and everything work.
Wow, wow. So I go back. I want to go back to something you said because this is something I'm working on, and that is what I think. I say it, I say it more than I sometimes have to catch myself, but I realize that it's important how you see yourself, even if, say, and I'm not just talking about the outward aesthetic, but even your health and your well being. If
Mhm.
you go to a doctor and you listen to a diagnosis that's less than favorable or prognosis, and then you internalize it, well, first of all, that you believe it, and then you just, accept it. Then I mean, I had a young lady I gave a ride to a couple of weeks ago, and as we were talking, I didn't know her, she was young, and she said, she what did she call it? I'm maybe saying the wrong thing, but whatever the illness, say it was diabetes, but I don't think that's what she said. She
Mhm.
said, dealing with my diabetes, and she kept saying my this, my that, and finally I said to her, I said, is it yours? I looked over to her. She said, what? I said, diabetes. I said, do you own it? Is it your, and I said, because if you own it, it's going to stick around. And,
Yeah.
I don't think it was diabetes. It was something else. But whatever it was, we put the my on it because somebody told us that that's what we have. So
Yeah.
to get in a mindset to, for lack of a better definition, reject what is told to you, and then to formulate what do you want? What do you
Mhm.
want to see for your health and well-being? What do you want as your outcome? What do you want your testimony to be about you?
Absolutely.
That's the hard part, I think, for a lot of people, because we have so much faith, maybe, that we've put in other people, people who wear, white coats, and
Yes.
and you know what do you do, to help someone even work on their own wellness from a mindset standpoint?
So we do mindfulness meditations, right? So I teach them how to. Are you familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Okay, so I pretty much use his methods in regard to teaching people, one, how to become aware of their body parts. So how to feel your fingertips without touching them, by simply focusing your attention there, right? And so once you're able to do those things, you're able to pretty much put yourself into a meditative state. Okay. And you can slow down your thoughts. So we're so used to, our brains work like problem, 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 that we never slow down to hear the solution. And so what that does is it slows down the brain waves to where you can do problem, solution, 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 problem, solution. And now the problem is that I got to choose which solution I want to take, right? And so if we can slow the brain waves down, then we can begin to see ourselves without having to take the diabetes, the shots and everything, or the medications. We can see ourselves without the limitations of our ankles swollen up. We literally start to all the symptoms that they speak to me that they're experiencing. I begin to pretty much tell them what they should be thinking on a daily basis. I remind them of different things that they should be focusing on, that they should be seeing themselves doing. And what happens is the more that you see yourself there, the more that it becomes real to you, right? The more you
Mhm.
command yourselves to go in that direction. And so we find that people's self-esteem starts to increase. They begin to feel better just simply from focusing on those things. So we definitely go ahead and give them those meditative practices. And then it was another thing that I wanted to touch base on that has to do with meditation, but it was something really specific. It'll come to me. Everything happens in divine time, and I'm not supposed to see it right now, apparently. But the meditation is a huge part to be able to change the mindset. Oh, yeah, yeah. We also go ahead and teach them how to break habits, how to structure their space to where you can build on new habits. Okay. So we give, it's different little sheets and stuff. I forget the book that it's from. I think it's called Breaking Habits or something like that. But we pretty much use that method to teach people exactly how they can look at the things that they have and break those habits while replacing them with new ones. And it starts with the environment as well. So it's meditative centered.
Okay, so yeah, when you say the environment, so that could be, like, I'm looking at the book, feng Shui Home. I'm looking at. I mean, sometimes it's, like me. having a lot of stuff and saying you got to get rid of like a whole bunch of this stuff so that
Yeah.
you could see yourself, in a more expansive and just uncluttered,
Mhm.
mindset and so forth. So I mean, it's funny how some of the things that will affect us physically
Yeah.
physiologically are just environmental.
Even just moving things around, right? If you know that you're going to your sink every single day, you don't want to have something there that triggers you to do a habit that you're always used to, right? So, for instance, the things that just happen to us naturally, you never have to think about which side of your body you're gonna wash first. It's something that you've been doing forever, right? You're probably thinking about it now, like, dang, I do wash this side first every you know. And so
I
that's a
was
habit.
I was thinking about that. I was like,
Exactly. But you never think about it when you're in the shower. It just
no,
happens. And
no.
so it's so many things that happen to us, like our thought processes that just happen before we even think about them. And
Hmm.
so we have to just structure our actual physical space to have reminders of the positive things that we want. Okay, so you want a place, if you know you're visiting your sink every single day, and I know that, you know what, I want to take the habit of oil pulling every single day. I'm going to
Hmm.
sip my coconut oil before I go to bed. I'm gonna go ahead and sit my coconut oil right beside my toothbrush, and I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of tea tree in there, so I can go ahead in the rising. All I gotta do is toss it in there instead of, man, I want to oil pull every day. I'm gonna start oil pulling, and then you get up tomorrow, and it's just like, oh, I'm in my routine, and you completely forgot to go get the coconut oil. So simply things like that, and then taking away the things that trigger you to do other things. Okay, so that's what I mean, kind of like about the environment.
Um, you mentioned oil pulling, so let's talk about that and the importance of that. I have tried that from time to time, but I have not. I admit I have not been consistent. I actually have
Mm-hmm.
coconut oil in the bathroom, but it's over there behind me. So
See?
if it was sitting on the sink, I would think it would trigger me to do it. But let's talk about the importance why we should do it anyway.
So not only does it help with oral health, a lot of people don't know that your teeth, and I'm not a, real specialist on this. It's something that I know. But your teeth, they have different, there of course is nerve endings. And so they represent different portions of your body. So when your mouth is unhealthy, your gut is unhealthy as well. And so a lot of times people think that, oh man, I brush my teeth all the time, I'm flossing all the time, but they still have a weird smell. Well, it's because your gut is speaking to you. And so oil pulling helps to not only kill that bacteria in the mouth, but it helps to strengthen the gut flora as well. So oil pulling it has so many different benefits, but that's something that I absolutely love, is how deeply cleansing it is, how it actually helps you to get a mouth workout as well. And then just it's a meditative practice as well. You're actually having to focus on swishing, and as it foams up, you're not spitting it out, right? And so I use those things as meditative spaces. So if I know I'm oil pulling for 5 to 20 minutes, while I'm there, I'm standing in the mirror and I'm literally thinking and imagining this coconut oil pulling all these toxins from not only my mouth, but from my body and my bloodstream. When you think about the mouth and the tongue, things are absorbed sublingually into the blood. Right.
Right.
And so if you have all these toxins sitting here, what's happening to the blood? What's happening to the gut? So it's so vital. And I'm not saying that this is something that you have to do here forever, but try just oil pulling for about 2 weeks to a month and see how your oral health and how your gut and how your skin feel.
Wow, yeah, 'cause I've seen I've read also of some people using sunflower oil and some different one besides coconut,
Mhm.
but I guess coconut oil is maybe the best for that.
I can't really answer that. I like to tell the truth. I don't speak about stuff that I don't know about. So I don't even know about the other ones to say like coconut oil is the best. It's just the
Okay,
one that I'm most familiar with.
okay. Wow, that's good. Um, so your son, it's been 4 years.
Mhm.
What happened to him, after you formulated this herbal tincture? I think you said it was a tincture
Mhm.
that you created.
Yeah.
What were the results, and did any of the I guess Western or allopathic doctors, what did they have to say, if anything, regarding the change in him?
Oh, it was a fight initially. I had to establish myself as the authority of his team. Like, look, I know my child. I'm with him 24/7. Okay. So I had to establish myself as the authority and to show them that whenever they were coming in, they would tell us that something was going on. I had my books right there. Boom. I would immediately start researching. By the time they came back in that room, I knew enough to ask the right questions. And so I began to do that over and over and over again. And so when I finally formulated the tincture, we were in a hospital, and I brought it from the house. My husband brought it up because it was the last one was right at the beginning of COVID. That's when the tincture, I got the final formula, and that was the last time that we've been. So it's been a little over 3 years now. But I gave him the tincture, and the doctors were just like, because he was on medication. I mean, he was on antibiotics year round. Okay, consistently, he was on antibiotics. And so, if without those antibiotics, we were going to be in the hospital every single time. So I was the one who initiated the antibiotics. I realized two and two together. I'm just like, every time we're in here, we give him antibiotics. Okay. The connection was SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Okay. And so I picked up on this and I told them, I said, give him the antibiotic and we'll be able to go home. They gave it to him and we got better. Okay. But the antibiotic is killing both the good and the bad bacteria. So it weakened his immune system, which ended up making the bacteria that were in there more powerful. Okay. So we had to, it got to the point where it wasn't effective. So we were back in the hospital. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to trust myself and I'm going to go ahead and give this to him because I had it formulated. I was just afraid because I had, society tells you that you need school in order to do these things, right? But our ancestors didn't.
That's right. That's right.
They did it. They went out and they forged things and they told you, look, stand on your head, baby, chew this clove, and then you'll be all right. And so
fry this onion underneath your or around your foot or something.
Exactly. A sweet potato in your sock. So, they did that stuff intuitively. And so I finally trusted myself. I gave it to him. And he was good. Okay. The output started to come into his bag. He started to burp and he was good. And they're just like, well, what did you give him? And I showed it to him. Okay. Then at his follow-up appointments, he wasn't coming back and his symptoms were completely different and they were completely gone. And so they're just like, okay, so is he still taking his medications? No, he hasn't taken it in over 6 months. And they're looking at me like, well, what is it that he's taking? And I'm just dangling it in his face. And I'm just like, same thing, same thing. And so they never asked what was in it. They never did any of that. It's just always been this thing of, like, it's kind of like creepy to them or something like that. But the conversation changed. So now it's all whenever we go to the doctors and everything like that, my husband is pretty much his surgeon, right? So he knows how to do the surgical procedure to irrigate him and everything like that. The nurses would come into our room and we would have everything done. So we literally educated ourselves to be able to provide him care for him just with the holistic standpoint. So the doctors now, they speak to us and they're asking us, okay, so what do you think, Mom? What do you think, Dad? I'm thinking this. What do you think we should do? It's all in our hands at this point.
Well, so you still take him back for checkups, but
yes,
he's not on any of their medication. He's just totally. But does he still need the bag, or has he been able to?
His colon is completely detached, and so they did a test last year. And they finally diagnosed him. So they were doing all this stuff without a diagnosis prior to. Okay. They finally diagnosed him with pseudo obstruction, which means that a portion of his colon is not functioning. Well, I began to study the mycelium network with mushrooms, and I realized how much that we were talking about restoring DNA strands and restoring pretty much nerve endings and everything. And I began to look at the mycelium network, and it looks exactly like our neurological system. I began to study how they kill cancerous cells, and they also rebirth new DNA cells, okay? Rebirth cells, you know what I'm saying? So they're doing all this repair to the body. And the only thing with him is he has to keep the bag until he's old enough to where I can treat him rectally. Okay, right now he won't understand that, I got to get this enema consistently so that I can put these herbs into my anus so that they could do their work. So we would have to treat him rectally. And without the colon being attached, anything that I give him orally is just going to come out into the bag. So we're pretty much playing the waiting game. He's good and stable, and we're just playing the waiting game until he's about 9 or 10, where he can endure getting the enema so that we can do that. But in the meantime, we're just building out our team so that we'll be able to, our plan, the way that we see it is, hey, doing the reattachment, we're going to get the test done again first to see if any other parts of his colon have awakened. And then we're going to admit to the hospital, and we're going to start doing our treatment process. So it's going to be, you know, we're looking for the right team of doctors who are going to allow us the space to be able to have the Western side so that we can monitor him and make sure everything is good. And then the holistic side is we do what it is that we have to do to restore our baby. So I keep having dreams, and my son keeps telling me, "Mommy, I don't want this bag," and I'm just like, "Spirit, you're not gonna give him, like, this baby is 6, like he knows that he's not supposed to have this thing," and I never felt that he was. So I know for sure. I don't know if it's just gonna turn on, okay, because I do meditations to really see him without this bag. So I don't know if it's just gonna turn on one day. But he passes gas. I'm sorry, not gas. He actually passes mucus through his anus now. He'll be standing. He's like, "Mom, I pooped." So something's happening.
Which is a good sign because
Yes.
yeah, and that's the thing. And like I said, the title of this is this, we're calling this is like when you take healing into your own hands, you know, wellness rather into your own hands, healing happens. And we have for too long given over to people that we admittedly say are practicing. If they can practice, then so can we, right?
Exactly.
I'm just saying. I mean,
Mhm.
what do you think? You know, if so, it just seems like we give an authority, you know, give them an authoritative role
Mhm.
in our health and well being. When you know, love to me is you know how they talk about weapons of mass destruction. I
Yeah.
call love a weapon of mass construction.
Ooh, I
Your
love that.
love for your child would not let him endure a life even as, and like you said something early in the beginning, you said babies or young children have not developed the attachments and so forth that would make them want to stay here. And you know where, and you don't know this, but some of my viewers know this. My baby died at 7 weeks. She had she was born during the time when there were a lot of SIDS cases. It was crib death, and she'd had her vaccination or whatever they give them. They give them immunizations on
Mhm.
6 weeks, and on the seventh week, you know, she was gone. Just you know, very healthy. Just in the and you know, but what I'm saying is, what I thought about when I heard you say that is that she really hadn't been here long enough
Mhm.
to say, oh, you know, she's going to be the greatest mother and so forth, and or
Yeah.
she is, you know, and I should stay there. So you had to advocate for your son. You
Mhm.
had to say to him, baby, if you just hold on, mommy's going to come up with
Mhm.
a solution that's going to help you. And whoever your son is, because a lot of our children and us have been here before,
Absolutely.
could hold on to that. That was something to hold on. Okay, okay, I don't like this what I'm going through, but she said that
Yes.
she's
Oh,
going to help me.
I love that. That feels so divine. Just something about the way you just spoke that. Oh, I'm sorry. I had to sit with that.
It's okay, you know. But I mean, I just felt that, you know, because I didn't say anything at the time when you first said it, but it stuck with me because of my own situation, and I was saying, wow. I said, and see, with me, there was no, with her, we didn't know she was, well, she wasn't sick as
Mhm.
far as we knew. You
For sure.
see what I mean? So there was nothing that we were trying. No, there was no reason to say, you know, hold on or look.
Yeah.
It just, as they call it, sudden. You know, and it was sudden, and they, you know, and which leads me to the sudden things that are happening with adults now, which
Hmm.
we won't, you know,
Hmm.
again. So, but but the fact, you know, the fact that you were the, you know, the advocate for him to trust in your love, like I said, weapons of mass construction. It helped you construct um, a holistic wellness, you know, system that not only helped him but has led you to do a lot more for others.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, I just wanted to say that because it just
Well,
popped in.
thank you so much for sharing that. And I can only imagine, I don't know if I imagine that it isn't a trigger space for you just of how fluid you said it. But how was it, if you don't mind, like, how was it for you repairing yourself and forgiving yourself, not, for not knowing? Because I know a lot of times as mothers, we feel like we are supposed to know it all and we're supposed to protect our babies from it all. So what was that process like for you?
I think for me, back then, because we're talking 37 years ago,
Hmm.
but it's still fresh. It's fresh when I talk about it. It's not fresh in that I dwell on it, but when things come up to remind me of it, of course, it's like that day all over again.
Oh, wow.
And at the time, I had no real connection to what caused it. I'm thinking, was it the formula? Did we put a little? Did my mom tell me to put some Caro syrup in the formula, and did the formula? I don't know what. We were thinking all kinds of different things, but and then on the creepy side, I had the week before it happened, I had an out of body experience, and I saw myself running up the stairs in my mother's house, cradling her. Like, I don't know if you know how a lot of houses have the rungs, the white rungs. As you go up the stairs, you can look
Oh,
through the
yes.
banister. And I saw she had the white rungs there. And I was laying on the couch with the baby in my arm. And I saw I was frozen. And I'm watching myself running up the step, and something really dark, and it was formless, but it was really dark. And it looked like it was trying to smash her between my body and the rungs of the stairs. And then I snapped out of it, and I could, because I was watching this. This
Hmm.
maybe a week, probably a week before this happened. Ironically, when she died, I, of course, I didn't know she had died. I went to check on her in the morning. I put her in a crib for the first time. I kept her in the bed with me for 6, 7 weeks almost, and I put her in the crib
Oh,
that
wow.
night. And when I woke up that morning, my mom said, how's the baby do?" And I said, "Well, she slept all night." And I don't know if you remember Prince's phones. They were that little clip, the phone that you could drag, and it always.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
So I drugged the phone from my bedroom to the next bedroom to where she was, and found her turned over in a different way than I remember putting her down. And her face was black because the blood had pooled, and she was dead in the crib. And the crib was a white crib with white rungs.
Oh, no.
So when I tell you creepy, it was creepy. It
Oh,
was, it
gosh.
was, and so to be honest, and folk are listening, but to be honest, for the first, I mean, the several weeks before, until the coroner gave us the cause of death, which is no real cause.
Mhm.
I was getting these thoughts in my head. You did it. You got up in the middle of. Remember, I had seen this thing
Yeah.
trying to get her. I thought, and I mean, literally, I had an out. I'm looking. I see me, but I'm like, I'm here. How can that be me? So a
Hmm.
week later, this is what happens, and so it kind of looked, it was, admittedly, um, strange, to
For
say the
sure.
least. You know,
Wow.
and
Wow.
so when they came out with their diet or whatever, when they give you the autopsy report, it took several weeks, and they called it SIDS. But then around that time, several babies that I knew of, different people, the same thing happened. Some of them it happened when they took them to the daycare center, and then they put them down for nap, and the baby just died. But
Hmm.
there was something going on, in 19, was it 85 or whenever that was, and it was happening to a lot of babies. So,
Mm.
but I saw it,
That was
and
the
now,
age. I'm sorry for interrupting you. Go ahead.
what were you saying?
It just came to me that around the 1980s is when there was this really big push for it. One, antibiotics, and two, vaccinations, because they had discovered that, oh man, these antibiotics can stop all of these really bad diseases, these plagues, right? The
Hmm.
polio, all these different outbreaks, right? Infectious disease, right? And so they started to come up with the vaccinations and all these good things, and they were under the idea that, oh man, we could get rid of infectious disease forever, not realizing that bacteria are literally at the foundation of all living things on the planet. And so that I believe that, that's kind of in alignment with, as SID started to come about, those things started to come about. So it makes sense.
right. But like I said at the time, you know what I mean. But when I heard you, talk about, and what is your son's name? Because I think you named the
Elijah. Hmm.
Elijah. So Elijah, had a mommy and a daddy that, and especially mommy that said, listen, I stay here, give mommy time, and I'm going to fix this for you. And so that is important. I think that's important to speak life to our children, period.
For
You
sure.
know what I mean? I didn't have the, presence of mind then, I'll be honest with you. But you know what I was able to do in the years since that is help other mothers that, and one of the things that I had to do, and I know we're off topic a bit, but one of the things that I had to do, I had three other children. She was the baby, and I had three sons, and Spirit told me at the time, I felt like in my spirit that I had put so much grief, I grieved so much at the time for her, I began to neglect the others,
Mm.
and I had to pull it in, not forget her, but not forget them. You,
Oh,
you know what I mean?
yeah, that's deep.
And that was, that, and that was, I had to share that with some others, because you can get sometimes so consumed and overwhelmed with grief that the world stops,
Mhm.
and
Absolutely.
yeah, the world stops, and nothing and no one else matters. And so that way I was able to help others, and eventually, of course, I was in ministry, and so I had to really at the time, deal with, from a faith standpoint, that all things work together for the good, and
Absolutely.
so I was able just to help other folks. But now with what's going on now, and now they only thing they've done is change one letter in the middle,
Hmm.
so when so I realized, I now you look back and you go, okay,
Right.
like you said, something was being given back then, like something is being given up right now. It's just a different population, but
Hmm.
nevertheless, things like that are tagged when it's like we don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. What's really going on?
Right.
So, so let's get back to that. Look, let me see. It looks like several comments kind of dropped up there, but I don't even know. There might even be questions too. Want to make sure, because
Yeah, I see him on my side.
you can see them. Yeah, I don't know. There's probably comments and so forth. But anyway, so the other clients that you've worked with since then, uh, how long did it take you to come up with herbal combinations for all these different things? Or is there, because you talked about the gut, is there a underlying something that kind of affects most, if not all?
So with our people, the thing that's most high pride is food.
Ah,
Okay, yeah, we tie our emotions to this food, and every food that you crave. Like if you're craving crunchy things, you don't feel secure. Whether it be finances, whether it's secure in your relationship, secure with yourself, you want to crunch on things, right?
oh
When
God,
you
gotta leave the potato chips alone.
uh-huh. Just pay attention to when you crave them. Pay attention to what you're worrying about.
You hear that, y'all? She's
Mhm.
saying that if you need, what do you call it, the potato chips or some kind of little little orange square cap, because I'll get a box of those things. I don't want to give them any advertisement. But if you're craving crunchy things, what does it mean for us?
Security. Okay,
Mm,
you're lacking security. And that was a thing for me, especially before I healed my attachment to money. Oh my gosh, I was crunching, crunching, crunching. I always wanting something crunchy. And then if it's sweet things, there's so many different things that you can look up, food cravings and emotions attached to it. Especially us as melanated people. You think of soul food, think of all the time Sunday dinners and all the times that we gather around food, but the foods lack the nutrients that we need. So a huge thing is food, and that in itself is connected to the good and our environment. Okay, so I spoke about this at one of my webinars. I spoke about the fact that when you go to predominantly Black neighborhoods, right, you see so much pollution. You see the buses coming through the city. And of course, it's impoverished areas. People don't really have the cars like that. But it's other reasons for this stuff too, right? So you have the buses that go through. What are they doing? They're polluting the air. All right. It's really loud. You have train stations that run through here. You have factories, right? Oh, we're bringing jobs. What do they bring? They always bring a warehouse that has no windows, and we're melanated people that need sunlight in order to charge our melanin. There's a reason why during the wintertime, like the depression levels skyrocket. We are melanated people. That sun, that vitamin D from the sun, it is literally charging that melanin. And when our melanin levels drop, so many different things happen in the body, right? So when you look at our environments, they bring these warehouses and they're putting out smog. They're doing all of this. There's a Kellogg's factory here in our, in one of the hoods here. And so you have all these different things that produce a toxic environment that kill. What are the top things that you see with your clients and Black people?
Well, we I see a lot of folks that are dealing, of course, with kidney issues, cancers, high blood pressure, probably and respiratory.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool beans. So, the high blood pressure, the kidney disease, the diabetes, they all, and the cholesterol, all issues of the blood, right? All of them all go together. Okay. So, and of course, so I won't go too deep into it, but they're all tied together. And so those are the issues that I see the most. And I forget the initial question that you asked.
I was asking whether everything was kind of tied into.
Oh, how did I come up with the different formulas for the
Yeah,
different?
because or was there a sort of an underlying issue that
Yeah.
kind of a lot of things stem from?
Okay, so I started with the food. Yeah, absolutely. So for me, we were talking about this a little bit. I am very unorthodox of a holistic health practitioner. Okay, I know the body. I know how the body works. I study anatomy and physiology the most. And so what I find is that when you know how the body works, when you know the different elimination pathways, and you know how things kind of come together, then what I do from there is I do everything based on the client. Okay, something I say all the time is we have different fingerprints for a reason. So what one formula that works for this person may not work for you based on what's happening in your blood. So I take the client, I look at their blood work, and I look at their health history and the medications that they're on. And based on those things, the medications, I can tell which I research and see which vitamins and minerals does the body get depleted of on this medication. Okay, that's one thing. So that if they can't get off of the medication right that moment, then they're able to take the supplements that are going to pretty much help their body remain in a space of homeostasis, so they're not so affected in that regard. And so from there, what I do is I look at the different herbs that will reproduce that action in the body, and I just build the formula from there. So my studies are my way of treatment is super research based, client by client. And so what I'm doing now is putting together a big list, or book, if you may, of different things that I find that work, foundational recipes that can be tweaked. Okay, so to prevent all the rework. But for me, everything is situational based on the client. I take those things, that foundation, and then I build off of that based on what's happening with the client at the moment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you're saying that you're not there's just not a whole, you don't have a shelf of take this, but specific. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes a little bit more time and effort if
Yes, yes.
if you're doing that for each one of your
Mm-hmm.
clients.
And I do have, like I said, I have those foundational ones. I'm getting my list bigger. Right now, I used to have 16 different formulas. But when I began to reconstruct things and get really, really specific based on the phytonutrients, so the plant action, when I began to get really specific according to what's happening in the body and what needs to be supported, I destroyed that and I began to rebuild. So far right now, I have 6 of the main basic formulas, and then I may remove something. If you're on blood thinners, you can't take ginkgo biloba, so I'll take that out and then I replace it with something else. So I just, I move around in that regard.
Well, but that's good. That's good that you're looking at everything that your client is taking, may have to continue taking for at least a period of time,
Right.
and making sure that there are no interactions and contradictions that would affect them. Because to be honest with you, a lot of those allopathic medicines are based on natural medicines that have their proprietary, to make it their specific, because you really can't copyright or patent nature. But if
Right.
you put something else in it, something normally that's synthetic, then you
Yeah.
make your own thing. So you need to be able. So like you said, if somebody's on whatever they might be giving you, whatever one of the memory things, drugs is for memory.
Mhm.
Well, if they're already taking that, we know the ginkgo um, biloba is deals with the memory, or maybe they're on something with the mood. So maybe they can't take what's it
St.
ashwagandha,
John's wort or
St.
St.
John's
John's.
wort
Yeah.
or ashwagandha, something, because that would interact with, or they'd
Yeah.
be overdosing, and so that's
Absolutely.
good.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you're not telling, and that's good. You're not, and you don't tell them not to take what they're taking.
Absolutely
You
not.
see how you could work with it until they don't need to be on
Mhm.
anything that's synthetic, so to speak.
Right. And for some clients, they can. I never tell clients to, stop taking their medications to one, protect myself and then them as well. But there are some clients who are just like, look, my spirit is telling me to not do it. And a lot of times when those clients follow their intuitions, they find that their bodies are. Now, there are some clients, if you're at stage 4 or 5 kidney disease, or even 3, continue taking your medications as you support your body and being able to stabilize itself, to strengthen itself, for that organ to be able to remember its function, right?
Hmm.
You spoke that the body is designed to heal itself, so shall it be. You have to give it the environment to do so. So as we're taking these different things, as we're taking these vitamins and minerals, as we're taking these herbal compounds, they're doing what they have to do to your organs and giving us time. And then you'll find that you're able to come off of this medication, and then you're able to get rid of that one, and before you know it, you're good to go. So I'd rather take that route in supporting the body to ensure that there's no further damage. So I always pay attention to their blood and all their levels to ensure that, okay, cool, we can make steps forward, but we at least have to make sure we don't fall below this number. So that's the phase 1 of dealing with me, is making sure that everything is stabilized, and then we continue to build off of that. So that's pretty much the standard.
And that's good. So, the have you ever do you have clients that have any of those major diseases, like say cancer, or heart issues, or any of those kidney diseases? I mean, and have you seen success, or has there been improvement in their situations based on adding
Yes.
that holistic practice to what they're doing, a
Yes,
protocol
ma'am.
rather?
I see it. It happens really fast, actually. And when I say fast, I like to under promise and not over promise. So I like to tell people a minimum of 90 days, but I see it happen sooner than that. Okay, hint, hint. Um, so I have seen leukemia. I'm trying to figure out the right verbiage since we're on here. Okay, leukemia eradicate itself. I've seen the body fight off leukemia. Okay, that's the proper
Oh,
thing.
wow.
Okay, I have seen the body fight off herpes. I've seen the body fight off Graves' disease. I've seen the body fight off the deepest so far is stage 4 kidney disease. Now, I did have a patient. I won't speak too much about it, but I had a patient who was stage 5. In our first month, her GFR improved by 7. She was an elderly patient, though. So when I got her at her last, her GFR was 20. When she came to me, we got it up to 27. Unfortunately, we lost her recently. I got her, like I said, a month ago, and in her month, she was doing great, and just unexpectedly, she left us. So we do experience those things. She was doing so much better. It caught me and the family by surprise, but those things are, they are real. And so I like to speak of my successes as well as my failures, because I am a human.
Mhm.
And I don't consider it to be, a failure at all. Neither does the family. But I say that to say I have seen improvements even at stage 5, when they say, hey, when you get to stage 4, you can hang it up. You're pretty much, the only hope is dialysis. And that's not true.
Okay, so when she came to you, she was pretty much at a sort of, perhaps if alternate treatment had occurred earlier in her progress of disease, it may have given her a bit more time.
Yes, I feel that way, and so does her family. I'm not going to say anything that I haven't spoken with the family in regards to, but we both believe that if we had found each other sooner, that things would have been a little bit differently. But when it comes to elderly patients, you just have to be really mindful, because the bodies pretty much are sensitive, just like babies. And so you have to, you have to kind of ease it. But when it's something that's this bad, you don't have a lot of time on your side. So it becomes a really sticky space to be in. And so it just reaffirms my methods. And it's like, you know what, I'm going to take this literally line by line to figure out what it is that we should do. And so, yes, stage 5 can definitely be, I have seen it get better, but it's just when it comes to all of the different variants and all the different medications and everything, you have to be really careful and really specific.
Well, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think, like I said, we all have a time, when it's our time. But a lot of, like I said, a lot of times, the practice part of it is, for me, to me, spurred more by um, companies that produce certain things, to say, I'm trying to figure out how to say this.
Hint, hint.
Yeah, produce certain things that they say will do certain things that really have adverse effects, because it's probably, even though it has passed some trials, they still don't know until they start to see the long-term
For sure.
data.
For sure. And some of them they do know, some of them they do
Right?
know.
And because of this, they
Yeah.
would rather, would rather is get as much get
Mm-hmm.
as much on the front end and deal with that.
Yeah.
What does it say? It's better to ask for forgiveness than for permission.
Yeah, hello. Hello. And then they'll give you a band-aid knowing that, okay, I can give you this beta blocker or this calcium channel blocker, right? And it's going to do wonders for your blood pressure. You're going to see your blood pressure improve. But then, you got to deal with your kidneys failing you. Like, what are we doing? So it helps one thing, but then I got to get on medications because now I'm dealing with COPD and I can't breathe properly. Like, because this one medication, we treated this, but then it caused all these things. So that's how you see I started with this medications and now this medication. Now I'm on 12 different ones.
My mother was about my mother died officially, I think, of COPD. And she was probably on like 22 different medications. It was so, and then some of the stuff was emotional stuff too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, some of it had to, but because I guess you had to have it by the time you put 22 different medications a couple times a day in your, my niece would have to, for my stepdad and my mom, they had the big pill containers, and she literally have to, load all the stuff because it was so much that they had to take. They these great big wide ones, because that's how much. And there's no way that there can't be things fighting each other when you're taking that much. You know what I mean?
They just tell you, oh no, now you have high cholesterol. Oh no, now your lungs aren't, your oxygen levels are decreasing. Oh no, now you have sleep apnea. Oh no, now you're depressed. Well, here, take this. Every time it's take this. Well, take this. So it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, yeah. So the fact that, like, again, what we're saying is, the premise is, and you're proving it, is that when we take wellness into our own hands, then healing happens. But a lot of times we have been programmed, our belief systems, our trust, are in folks. I mean, I have people that I, respect, that don't, when you said, oh, I don't have a degree in this. And I have people that I do respect, but they, one of their issues with folks like yourself might be, well, they don't have letters after their name. And my retort was, well, Big Mama, and all of them, mom and them, they didn't have degrees when they went out in the yard or sent you out in the yard and picked that and put that together and didn't have the resources, or couldn't even in some cases go get to a doctor if they had the resources. So they had to look around. And one thing, somebody told me that most of the time, whatever it is, especially if you live where there's grass or something can grow, a lot of times what you need is growing outside your residence, your domicile, wherever you are. I remember when the things broke out a couple of years ago, these white flowers started popping up everywhere. And I believe it was Brother Dave, he's a holistic practitioner, and I think he said he was sitting there. it was cost from a car dealer or something. And when he researched this particular flower dealt with respiratory. It looked like it was a weed to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
How long have people been calling dandelions weeds when you can go into Sprouts or one of the or whether Whole Foods, and they're selling dandelion
Yes.
leaves, but you rather pay, $2.99 a bunch for it rather than go and pick up. Well, the dogs probably pee on those too, but they wash them. Or
Mm-hmm.
you should wash them. You should wash anything you get anyway.
For sure.
But your healing, is right outside your door. Lately I've been seeing. I saw this summer purple things. I don't know. I didn't take a picture of it to see, but I'm sure it probably had some medicinal properties that they, the Most High was saying, look, here you go.
Yes, exactly. Mama Gia is always watching like the earth, right? Just like a
Mhm.
mother. Okay,
Right,
cool. Oh, baby, you need this. Oh, I see this is happening. I'm gonna cause this to rise. You know what I'm saying? Like, what other explanation is there for all these respiratory, these white plants to be just popping up out of
right.
nowhere? Because no matter where you were, actually, those were when I
And
traveled
yeah,
to South Carolina, they were there. Here,
so
here,
you
here.
you know what I'm talking
Yes,
about. Yeah,
ma'am.
they were. Yeah, I'm like, well, okay. And then
Exactly.
here we are trying to, get this and that, and in a bottle and that, and it's right outside your door.
Mm-hmm.
Right outside your door. Came to you. You're mowing it down. You putting whatever that stuff is
Weed
that kills
killer.
weed killer. You killing not only your health, but you might be killing yourself too because you
Yes.
handled the weed killer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it is very, very, it's disheartening.
It is.
And even now, I hope, and I don't know if you've dealt with anyone with this, but I hope something is developed to help. I saw it in the comments, and I've had a few folks that I know who are adults who have died suddenly recently, and it seems that myocarditis
Mm-hmm.
is a factor in most or sudden adult death syndrome or a heart attack.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
People are dying from heart attacks, and it seems to be no warning. It just is. It's like they have a ticking time bomb in them, and I'm wondering if there that of if there are any types of um, herbal combinations that address maybe the rhythm of of the heart, because to me a heart attack means maybe it's constricted or did something. Is
Mm-hmm.
there are there any drugs, not non-pharmaceutical, I'm talking about plants, medicinals,
Mm-hmm.
that actually are good for the heart? Because there are a lot of people that are
Mm-hmm.
having these issues, or of somebody, or if they've done certain things, maybe they need to be taking something that
Yes,
strengthens the heart.
if
Yeah,
they've done
yeah, yeah,
that thing, that's what we're speaking of right now. Okay,
yeah.
yeah. Uh-huh. If you've done that thing, yeah, most definitely. So what in addition to that though, a lot of the people that are having this sudden death syndrome are on these different medications, these blood pressure medications. And what they don't tell you is that they weaken the heart's ability to contract,
Oh,
right?
really?
And so if I can't contract properly, I can't pump blood properly. And so the chances of having a heart attack skyrocket. So
With
if
that, okay, with that plus that is what you're
well,
saying.
with just the blood pressure medication alone. So I was getting to, and then you add that,
Hmm.
okay, which weakens the body's immune system in the gut, right, as well as the respiratory tract. And so when it weakens the immune system, wait, where was I going with this? Okay, so it weakens the immune system and, of course, the respiratory tract as well. So if you already have this issue of the blood, which is why when that issue, the pandemic, that thing, when that was happening, so many people that we saw that were passing were elderly. Well, why is that? They're on a bunch of these medications. And so when you add that in there, it produces pretty much a perfect storm for attack of the heart, attack of the lungs. And so you see that whenever they would pass, it would be one of those two things.
Hmm.
One of those two things. So I recommend hawthorn berry complex. Okay, so that's the berry, the flower, and the leaf. A lot of people do just hawthorn berry, which is amazing. But I found that the complex helps to strengthen the beat of the heart, to stabilize the rhythm of the heart, as well as to decrease the blood pressure. It helps with stress as well. and it helps to kind of cleanse the blood too. So that's one that I absolutely love. As I said, I don't store the herbs in my mind. I literally look at what's going on in the patient. And so a lot of times they say that this stuff happens out of nowhere. So I want to give this tip because, as I said, I study the body. If you look at your blood work, your RDW, okay, it stands for red blood cell distribution width. All right, what that is determining the size, the range and size of your blood cells. So you have the blood vessels that are small, and so you need to have small blood cells that are similar in size, right? And so when your RDW is high, it's saying that you have some blood cells that are really, really large and some that are small. Well, what happens is when those things start to pile up, the blood thickens. They end up causing an obstruction, and then you
Like
have
a
the
or
heart
something.
attacks,
Yes.
right? So if
Right.
you see that your RDW is high and your platelet level is high, then you have a higher chance of having a stroke or a heart attack. They'll say that, oh, this was unexpected, but I am willing to bet, okay? I'm willing to bet that if we were to look at the blood work of these patients, that those two numbers were elevated at some point in time. I'm willing to bet that because it's so clear, but they do things reactively instead of proactively. So instead of, like, hey, take this herb, take that herb, because it's all specific based on, so many different reasons people have heart attacks. But if you look at that, that is a key indicator that you can definitely have one. Okay.
Wow. Okay. Well, yeah. So what you recommend a lot of oftentimes, and you mentioned that you that go to your doctor, go to the lab, a get those tests, those diagnostics
Mm-hmm.
done, and then you're able then to look at the diagnostics and see, what they may, because they may not explain everything. I don't know how many times, they may be looking for something specific. So if they write up that they're trying to check to see if if you have, arthritis, as you can find in blood, then
Mm-hmm.
that's, they're not going to necessarily tell you, in addition to arthritis, this means you got this, that, they'll get to it eventually, because it'll be something else that they can string
Yes.
you on, put you on the, on the popcorn. You make the string, they just go put that on too. But if they don't necessarily give you the meanings of, I've never had a doctor actually, after I've got given blood, say, okay, now let me explain to you what all of this is. They'll only tell you about up your A1Cs are off the chart. You're pre-diabetic, or you're not. That's the one they like to point out all the time, most of the time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And see, I'm a person that they point those things out for a reason. Because if I can just get you on this, for one, I can keep you quiet because a lot of times this is a thing too, you guys. So I don't want to paint out all doctors to be bad at all, but this is a thing where doctors feel under pressure to write prescriptions these days because people come in one looking at them with a God complex to save them, and the doctors wear that. Some doctors with good hearts wear that pressure, and so they know that, oh man, the way that people feel like the doctor did something for them is if they go home with a prescription. And so, really being able to challenge the doctor and ask them the proper questions is important. And so that's why the first thing when people subscribe to our community, I send over the From Sheep to Leading Authority audio for free. I give that to them. Why is that? Because it teaches you how to go into the doctor's office and become the authority. So that way, when you come, you know which questions that you should be asking your doctor. You know how to research properly so you can continue to ask the proper questions, and that they can stop talking over your head and saying all of this stuff that means nothing to you in your human language. You know what I'm saying? So you can understand what these things mean. So you can't understand, well, why is it that the diabetes is there? Because that's just simply a symptom. Okay, that's a symptom of something else that's going on in the body. So why is it there? To help your doctor to dig deeper. Okay, we are the head of our healthcare team, and so it's our job to ensure that they are challenged and that they are actually looking into what's going on in our bodies so that we can get the proper diagnosis. And what you were speaking of is when we were talking about, when I was saying like go and get the diagnostic test and then get the diagnosis and then begin to research what you need to, what you need to support your body. So I definitely recommend that you understand how to converse with your doctor, so that, and then as well as understanding how to read and interpret your blood work.
Hmm. Yes, yeah, that's important. That is so. I think, wow, it's very important, because when you go there, it's always, to me, they're always trying to convince you of something that you ought to be taking. I mean, I went today, and it was, ladies, we go, periodically because of, OBGYN, and
For sure.
I had not been, I want to say, for 2 years because of the, what was going on with, you know, we haven't been able to go see anybody.
Mhm.
They wouldn't let you in, pretty
Mhm.
much, because you had to actually, unless you had a, what do they call it, an emergency.
For sure.
They weren't seeing those, regular things. And the first thing they said to me was, your blood pressure is elevated. I said, I ran over a curb with my new car coming in here, and
Hello.
that, which I was like, don't even try it. And
Right.
I backed out, and I went, how they had those curvy things in the parking lot. And I
Hmm.
thought I was out enough. And so when I went to make a left turn, I was on the thing, and my car is new. And
Oh
so
yeah. Yeah.
it was like, ah!
And
And
that
then I
shot that thing on up there.
went in there. But the other thing is, I believe, or I've been told, that our statistics are not necessarily their stats. Because
No.
I stopped taking that BP stuff about 2 years ago on my own, and I'm fine.
Yes.
You
Yes.
said anything, but I'm like, no, I ran over a curb.
Hmm.
Whatever that whole thing is, I said, so, don't try to, no, I don't take any of that stuff anymore. You know what I mean?
Absolutely not.
And because, when you base those, what they call the norms, on other ethnicities, it doesn't, it doesn't make sense necessarily for you to be, and the cure, so-called cure, if you will, or the treatment is worse than, whatever little symptoms that you might be having. And like you said, changing your diet, addressing your gut situation, because we said, if you all weren't on at the very beginning, Tanisha gave us a very good explanation that majority of what is going on with us stems from gut health or poor gut health.
Hmm.
And you're hearing about that now more and more, Mike, about the gut biome, about leaky gut syndrome, and all of that, all of those things that need to happen, which are really not as major as some of the treatments that you may end up with. People with, I remember when a lot of people were suffering from what is that thing called? And I think it's the same thing they said. I'll be sure has been was in a coma for 2-3 months or something. They put him in a drug induced coma because he had like the irritable bowel,
Oh,
syndrome, or something like IBS.
hmm.
IBS. That's the gut, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's
Absolutely.
like, it can kill you if not treated well.
Hmm. Because
You
now
know.
you're exposed to everything. So what probably happened with him is he probably got meningitis or something like that, or sepsis probably stepped in. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't have the proper bacteria to fight off the things that you need to fight off. So now when something happens, your body begins to have produce an autoimmune response. It starts to attack itself.
Hmm.
So it's so important. It's so important.
Well, we are presenting this, and I am so happy with the fact that you are well studied, that you're not just,
Thank you.
you're not some, you say, jackleg, holistic healer. I'm not, but I'm just, seriously, because you really, you wanted to, you understand both sides of it. You can talk the language. I'll be honest with you. Some of the things that, like, I was like, oh yeah, because I could see the RDW on the AO scan reports, but I didn't know what it was. I'll be honest with you. So I send the reports, say to Dr. Botanica or somebody who would
Mhm.
then know. I know that if it's a high number, then we're indicating, we're looking at, maybe inflammation in that area, or a diminishing function in an organ, or something. But we see all of that on the AL scan reports, and we don't take any blood from them and any urine. You still see it if they're RD. But I didn't know that it was important to the side. I mean, it actually has a description there because you can click. But I'm just saying, what that is. And so I was like, I see the RDW on the report all the time.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
so now I was saying that could be an indicator, of somebody's, potential susceptibility to having a stroke or heart attack.
Yes, ma'am.
But
Are
if you
there
know
strong platelets?
right, so if you know these things, in advance. And I'm sure there's probably holistic methods, if you will, for thinning the blood. Yeah.
Ginkgo biloba is a great blood thinner. Garlic is a great blood thinner. Ginger, it's not as powerful as the others, but it's one that you can take even if you are on blood thinners. But ginkgo biloba is so powerful as a blood thinner that you cannot take it if you're on blood thinners. It'll send you
Really?
on up to the upper room.
Well, I was trying to think of what drug it is, but there's some drug that it will say if you cannot take grapefruit if when taking it. What does that means? What does grapefruit do? So grapefruit must be something that it does,
Yes.
that
It
they've
acts as
made something
hmm
synthetic. So do you know what grapefruit is?
Um, so Allison is on my mind right now. I know it's in garlic. I want to say I don't like to lie, y'all. So if it's not Allison, just forgive me. That's what's in my mind right now. So I'm gonna trust my instinct and say Allison. If it is not, correct me. Okay. I'm a human. My ego is dead. I don't care about being wrong. But I want to say that it's the Allison that's in citrus fruits as well that can they can act as blood thinners too. So a lot of the times when you're dealing with issues of the blood, taking things like grape juice is really good, and it won't act as a blood thinner. But when you add the citrus in as well, when you start to take those grapefruits and all of that good stuff, your lemons and your limes and your oranges, the citrus things, right? They can act as blood thinners. So if you're on blood thinners, doing a lot of citrus juices can be dangerous.
Blood thinners would be like, say, like Coumadin or something like that, those types of things,
They
right?
have so many different types of them. I think it's warfarin is one of them as well, but they have
Warfarin.
so many. I
Yeah.
think so. But they have so many different types, and so whenever I know that there's a blood thinner, even whenever I get a list, even if it's something that's common that I know, like when you see the pines, amlodipine, all that good stuff like that. When you see the pines, you know that those are calcium channel. I'm sorry. ACE inhibitors, no, calcium channel blockers. Anything that's pine at the end are calcium channel blockers. But even though I see them as pine, I'm still going in to ensure because they have so many different crosses to different things, right? So you want to just ensure that you know, okay, is this a blood thinner, and be sure about that before you go and take things that are going to assist in thinning the blood. And if you aren't on any and you're dealing with high RDW, high platelets, then go ahead and take you some ginkgo biloba.
Okay. Okay. So I mean, is there any ginkgo biloba that is better than others? I mean, like, do you in some instances do you send your clients to say, oh, you can get that from whatever the pharmaceutical, not pharmaceutical, but maybe there's a nutritional wellness store, you can get that, or do you
For sure.
put all that together, for everything together yourself?
So for me, I give the client the option. I try to empower my clients. I want you to, I really try to, like, here, I'll tell you what you need to get, what you need to do. I really try to get them to get and mix them themselves. So if I'm having you take a tincture, you can go to Sprouts or Whole Foods or your local health food store and get these different tinctures. And I will tell you how much you need to put in each bottle to make the blend that you need. But most of the time, people are like, nope, I want it done right. And I don't have time to do that. So I'm just going to let you do it. But I try to empower people. I tell them exactly what they need to do so that, because my goal is to inspire the awakening of the healer within all of us. That's my goal. I don't want to be the person treating people all the time. Like, I just want to inspire you to realize that the things that I do, you can do them yourselves because your body is designed to heal itself. All you got to do is give it what it needs.
Now, with that said, I don't know whether you mentioned this to me when we first talked a few weeks ago, but you mentioned classes, or can you tell us a little bit about what you're offering in the way of those who might have an interest in holistic
So,
work?
in regards to our actual program where I teach people my methods, we're actually in the beginning stages of building that out. So it'll be launching maybe mid sometime this year or next year, at the end of next year. But I do offer, so I put together different workshops. So one that I recommend everyone start with is the mini blood work basics workshop on our website. And it teaches you the 5 top things that every single person needs to know how to identify in their blood work so that you can be proactive. So whenever you go to the doctor, regardless, I literally have CDs over here, and my nightstand is full of diagnostic tests results. Okay, anything that I get, if it's an X-ray, whatever have you, I put it on the CD. I need it. So much so that I can stand beside the X-ray tech and I can point out what's on the thing. Like, I've looked at them so much. Okay, and it's helping you to train your eyes. So as you're seeing these things more and more, you are able to keep the doctors on their toes. When they see that you're requesting your stuff, they know that, okay, I can't just spit anything to her. Why? Because I don't want to have a malpractice suit. Okay, so you requesting these things help to keep them on their toes. It helps you to be to have a paper trail, so that in the event that you need to fire your doctor or get a second opinion, you have the things that you need, and then you also are able to understand them. So those 5 top things that you need to know, understand about your blood work is a starter. And then if you're someone who is a practitioner, or if you're somebody who I just want to educate myself to help my family, then you want to do the full blood work basics course, and it comes with a workbook. And so those are the 2 things that I really, really recommend. I have other like workshops and stuff that one that I'm releasing about the top 4 types of blood pressure medications, and what they mean and things that you can do. So we have a bunch of intellectual property where I just have courses randomly that I teach people how I understand things, how I see things in the body, and what you can do if you have those different ailments. So if you go to, is it okay if I drop my website?
Oh yeah, I have been running it, but I'm running it again now.
Okay. Yep. Okay. I see it. So you guys here, royaltyholistics.com, and you can check out the different, if you type in IP, it stands for intellectual property. You'll see all the different workshops and stuff like that we offer. Anytime I offer a workshop, I like to give you the education, not the stuff that you just go Google. I like to give you the nitty gritty so that you can actually understand. You guys empower yourself. Even with me, with Dr. G, any other practitioner, make sure that you're asking questions. Make sure that you do your own research, because this is your body. You have to live with yourself. And so the last thing that you want is to be giving your health placing your health into the hands of someone else, regardless of how much you love them or trust them. It's not even a trust thing. It's a God thing. Right? I want to be tapped into my inner wisdom, okay, my inner power, to ensure that I can make the best decisions for myself. So if you type in IP on the website, you'll have the different courses and things that we offer. And then just stay tuned for when we release the big course, if you would like to learn our methods for assisting people.
Now, did I hear you say that your husband is a surgeon or works with surgeons? Or I remember I skipped over it, but I think I heard you say
yes. Yeah. So he doesn't work with any surgeons. He just does the procedure. So the surgery team, the nurses or the regular doctors can't do this when we're in the hospital. But we learned the process. So it's called irrigation, and it's pretty much like an enema for ileostomy patients. And you take this big long tube, and you have to stick it into the stoma. So it's pretty much the small intestine. It looks like little lips. Okay, they're pink, and this is where his poop comes out at. And so sometimes he gets really trapped up with gas if he eats too much broccoli or stuff that produces too much gas, right? Or if he eats popcorn or whatever have you, certain things that you can't eat. And so he does do those things. The output stops, okay, and it's considered a medical emergency because it's a blockage. Okay, they start to vomit bile, and so instead of running him to the hospital when we have to do this, my husband, he knows the procedure. We would do it in the hospital. The doctors would come down and they would be expecting and just like, oh, it's been 5 hours. No, we're just gonna go ahead and do this. So he pretty much taught himself to do the procedure, to keep everything sterile, to do all of those good things, and to relieve him. So he pretty much irrigates him in times that he needs to, and it keeps us out of the hospital.
Oh, so he's able to do that at home for your son. So
yes,
you don't
ma'am.
have to go to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, that is being proactive, and that is taking your child's health into your own hands, right, until he gets to the place. And I'm pretty sure that, he'll probably pick up he'll want to be doing something, in that nature, like my mom did this for me. So I'm going to do that. But yeah, so taking matters into your own hand. Oh, I want to. You were going to tell us the six
Mm-hmm.
channels. Was it
Yes, the 6 ways the body eliminates.
elimination? Yeah,
Uh-huh.
the body eliminates. Can you share that? I want to make sure you do that
Yes,
before.
ma'am. Your memory is so pristine. Oh, your
Who's
memory is so
memory?
pristine.
Who's memory? My memory.
Yes. I said that at the beginning. We're like an hour and 30 minutes in. You're like, oh no, you remember you said this.
Yes, that's right. So I will tell you later on.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have the lungs. That is an elimination pathway. I mentioned deep breathing. Okay, if you're breathing shallow all the time, which most of us do, it causes you to have high stress. And you cannot, whenever you're inhaling, okay, inhaling through your nose, people shave their nose hairs. There is a filter.
Yes.
Okay. So if you notice, if you're inhaling through your mouth, it's hot air, right? If you're inhaling through your nose, it's a little bit cooler. It's the perfect temperature. Okay. So it's acting as a thermostat, perfect temperature to be able to get the toxins out of the air and then send the oxygen into your body. And then we exhale the CO2, right? So those are the toxins. A lot of times in the blood work, you see the CO2 increasing. Do a little bit of breath work. Okay, you'll see, and of course, to cut out the toxic foods, and you'll see that your body becomes a little bit more alkaline. Okay, so the lungs. Then we have the lymphatic system. It's our body's sewage system. Okay, you have the lymph nodes, you have the thymus gland, all those good things like that. The skin is a part of your body's lymphatic system, and so I call it the sewage system because if I come through your city and plug up all of your lymph nodes and your lymphatic system, or I'm sorry, if I come through your city and plug up all of your drainage pipes, your sewage pipes, right? As soon as it rains, it's going to flood. And so that's what happens in our bodies. And so we start to experience all this inflammation. We start coughing all this phlegm. We can't breathe properly because our lymphatic system is clogged up. That's our sewage pipe. Okay. So we have all these toxins that are rushing through our body and then they end up spilling into the blood, which causes all of the detoxification issues, right? All of the high blood pressure, the anemia, all of that good stuff. Okay. And then you have the liver. Okay. Your liver is the detoxification organ. You have in connection with that, the digestive tract. Okay. And so typically people say 3, but I break them all down into 6. Okay. You have the digestive tract. Then you have the kidney. And then I'm missing one. Okay. So we have our kidney.
How about the skin?
I'm sorry.
Is the skin, would the skin be?
Yes. It's a part of the lymphatic system. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Right. Yep. So I said the lungs, the liver, yeah. So the skin is the 6. Yes. So when you look at those different things, so of course you can break them down. You can group them up into 3, but I like to break them into 6 because to help people, one, understand the body. And so if you take those 6 and you look at every health condition that we have, you'll be able to pretty much put them into like a tree branch, right? So you know how you have the family trees and you have the top people. If you do that and then you look at all the different ailments that we have, they're going to stem from one of those 6. And so that's an easy way. That's something that I'll actually be teaching in our program. The first steps to actually being able to understand the functions of the body is understanding the different ways that the body eliminates. And when you can understand that, you'll be able to understand the different ailments and how they show themselves in the body. So it's a quick little cheat sheet for y'all.
That's good because I do know, some of the things, just a quickie for people is that, and some already do that, but body brushing. Before you take a shower, I mean, the Robert Gray method was always with the body brushing, along with the bentonite clay and all that, brushing the skin from the palms and up, brushing up the legs and so forth. It does 2 things. I think it also activates the lymphatic system because you really don't have to go deep in order to do that, but it does also lift some of that dead skin that you just move around when you're you take a whole shower and then you realize that you roll on your skin and then you're like, wait a minute, it's still there.
Yes.
Yes, it's still there. But brushing the body or like and I these are some of the things I discovered, like starting to under the palm or the ball of your foot, behind the back of your knees. These are some places for to stimulate the lymphatic system. In the groin area. Like you mentioned, up under the arms, up here, and up near the ears. There's a whole lot of places that, and for me, I had surgery. I had a great big knot when I was like 4 years old. I got a scar like this big right now. I'm a grown, look, I'm a grown ass woman, but I'm grown, and the scar is like this. So I can imagine what it looked like when I was like 4 getting this
For
surgery.
sure.
And my mother told me, I remember her telling me when they were taking all the packing out, she fainted. It was so nasty. So
Yeah.
I think, I don't know whether they drained it or did they actually remove my lymph node in the groin area, but I had issues on this side of my body.
Oh, yep. They probably removed it.
It's right smack, so it's in the groin, so it's between the body. It's, it's there's like okay, we have
Mm-hmm.
a traffic jam right there,
Yeah.
and but these are the things that you don't know. So like not being able to take matters into your own hands. You go. My mother takes me because I got a swole. They're saying, oh, her lymph gland is infected, but did they drain it or did they actually just take it out and drain it?
Yep. They take them out. They take them out. The people get them removed from their breast. They get them
Mm-hmm.
removed from under their underarms. They get their tonsils. Okay. Those
My
are,
time when I was 21, gone.
yes.
Never
You
knew
know.
that was part of the system.
So what happens when you start to get sick and your body needs to release toxins? So not only that, your white blood cells are there, right? Your white blood cells are there. They're a part of your lymphatic system. They're a part of, so the lymphatic system and your immune system, they're parallel, right? And so the white blood cells are there. So when you start to remove those things, when you start to remove those your lymph nodes and things, then it weakens your immune system even more. So where are those toxins to go? How are they supposed to get pushed out of the body?
Mm-hmm.
You start to get this buildup, and so you probably experience more swelling on that side. You probably experience more pain on that side. You get what I'm saying? Because your sewage pipes are removed. They're gone. So the body is just like, okay, we got to try to reroute this. We got to try to reroute this, and you get the traffic jam, as you said, like, oh, we can't go out this way. Everybody go this way. And so what happens is the other lymph nodes, the other parts of your lymphatic system, they get overworked, and
Uh-huh.
then you get an imbalance.
And I don't know, like I said, I had to get older to put two and two together and realize because when I was 4, I didn't have any say in the
For
matter.
sure.
But now that I'm older and now that I have, an interest and a little bit of knowledge in those areas, I'm like, hey, that's what's wrong with me. But
Mm-hmm.
how to fix it, I don't know. But I happen to know because that's why that's happening there.
Yeah,
You
get
know,
you some
and
nettle
then
leaf.
yeah,
Uh,
even when
yeah.
they did my 2, quad tendons had to be reattached. I'm like, I probably had lymph all over there. They had to cut into that, because
Mhm.
every place, anything that they'll say, you don't need your tonsils, you don't need your gallbladder. Yeah, you did. If I didn't need it, it wouldn't been there. It wouldn't have been put there.
Exactly.
I still have a gallbladder, but I have a friend whose gallbladder was removed, and like everything that they take out, they
Yep.
they claim you're all right without it, but you're really not.
Right, right. What I'm all right without is this surgery, because if I was supposed to have a surgery, I would have a zipper. God would have gave us a zipper. Like, oh, okay, you need
I
to take
never
this
heard it
out.
that way, but you're right. Like zip, you're right.
Right, right. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, like I say, 2DE, diagnostic test, the diagnosis and emergencies. In emergencies, you absolutely don't you decline that surgery if it's emergency. But there are a lot of times where we could use these different herbs. And for I said nettle leaf, I meant cleavers. Okay, for the lymphatic system in the kidney, cleavers is amazing for the lymphatic system.
I have
Sarsaparilla,
grown in my yard.
you have cleavers. Go
Yeah,
ahead and get that thing. See, that spirit speaking to you, telling you, like, for this growing issue, take this.
yeah, because I took pictures. I had this thing called Picture This, which identifies plants, and I
Yes.
had all these strange things going in the yard. Cleavers. I had cleavers and wild plantain and this,
Yes.
that, and the other. But I
Are you
definitely had.
kidding me? Plantain is another one for the lymphatic system. So you got what you need.
That's been growing in my yard.
You got what you need.
So, yeah.
That's so divine. I love that. Like, that's so divine.
Yeah. Well, that's wow. Listen, I'm looking at the time we have left. I do not want to end this conversation without you sharing the exciting news about what you're working on. Um, you know, on the land and what you have. I think that's especially with a lot of Moors here, when we're always talking about this is our land, but
Mm-hmm.
we can't get a hold of it. Can you share whatever you can share about what you all are have done and acquired and what you're planning to do going forward? Yeah.
All right. This is so exciting. I didn't even know you were going to bring this up. So, as of yesterday, we just acquired our first 13 and a half acres of land. By the end of next year, we plan on buying out the land that's across from us as well. We have a strategic plan for acquiring it, but our goal for this one space is for it to be about 150 to 200 acres, and it'll pretty much be a oasis for our people. Okay, we will have a school that will teach children ages 17 or 18. We haven't decided yet, to 23. Financial literacy, how to trade and invest in the stock market, how to acquire different
Well,
skills.
you know what? The stock market may not be around, but I get it.
For
No, so
sure, for sure. You know, you just need the financial literacy stuff. You know
finance,
what I'm
yeah,
saying? How to deal with your
right,
finances.
right,
For sure, I definitely agree to that. Like, it probably
yeah.
won't even be here. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, I'm,
Okay.
I'm,
So we're going to teach different skill sets. You know, we realize that our elders, you know, the men, they had so many different. I mean, they were bricklayers. They were plumbing work. They would build houses. They had all these different skill sets, and somehow we got away from that. So the brothers will be teaching, you know, different skill sets in that regard. We'll be teaching gardening, farming, all of that good stuff. So that'll be the first part of the project. People will be able to come and actually live on the land. And in order to do so, we will be teaching de-escalation tactics. We will have different counselors that are there, because we don't kill each other. We don't kill Black people, right? So we need to know how to properly communicate. We need to know how to release our childhood traumas and be upfront and authentic, and, you know, hold ourselves accountable first, so that we can be a proper sister and brother to our community. We will be pretty much teaching all the things that we need to, one, sustain ourselves, two, to build a proper tribe, because we are a tribal people. Okay, you look at all the other races, they live together, they sacrifice, they stay in community, and then they build wealth together. And so that's pretty much what we want to return to. It takes a village. It started with us as a people. We lived that way initially, and then we were tricked out of our land. We were tricked out of our community to do this whole "I can do it all by myself" mentality. And so we are acquiring this land pretty much to have a space where we can come, we can learn, we can flourish, we can grow, and we can build. And so that's what this space is for us. And it just starts with this 13 and a half acres.
and those acres are located where? I mean, what
In Coldwater, Mississippi. So we
Coldwater,
plan on
Miss?
doing multiple communities like this all over the U.S. And then also, after we acquire this one in May, we're thinking about going to, I think my husband said Zambia is where we're thinking to go ahead and acquire some land. And we're just planning to just spread our, you know, pretty much put our feet in as many places as possible, so that regardless, within 60 miles, you'll be able to go to an oasis center where you can know that you'll have good food, where you know that you can be safe, where you know that you don't have to be locking your car, okay, just to go into somebody's house. You know what I'm saying? Like, we want to provide a space where we don't have to have our adrenal glands. Okay, y'all know I love the science. We don't have to be in fight or flight the whole time. You know, we want to create a space that, or spaces that, are safe for us to thrive.
Well, that's that. Oh, and again, somebody asked the question whether to ask if I would ask you whether or not any doctors attend your seminars.
Yes. We
They do.
actually have a on December 5th is the date that we just came up with. I have a group. I was pretty much calling it the Future of Medicine Mastermind. Okay, the Evolution of Medicine Mastermind is what I called it. And so I have some clients of mine who are doctors, nurse practitioners, retired doctors and nurse practitioners, famous doctors and nurse practitioners, and that are clients of mine. But some are my colleagues as well. And so the colleagues that I have, we have in this mastermind I'm speaking of, that's happening December 5th, we have two doctors, we have two nurse practitioners, we have a nurse, a phlebotomist, an immunologist, which is pretty much a doctor who studies the immune system and exactly how we can rebuild this gut flora that we speak of. And then we have four other holistic health practitioners. I hope I didn't miss anyone. So it's a team of 9 of us. And what we're doing is we're coming together and just making a mastermind so that we can build out a protocol or operate a standard operating procedure for how we will treat our clients. We will be the database for each other. So when I get in a client, I'll be looking at their case, and they'll have a doctor, they'll have an immunologist, they'll have other holistic health practitioners, and they will have nurses looking, that are able to look at their case. And we can put together a comprehensive plan for reversing the ailment. So yes, we do have, I do have doctors and nurses who have purchased my blood work courses, because we look at it from a holistic standpoint, and they're taught to treat symptoms. They're not taught to heal the body. And so they see value in what it is that I have to offer, and I see value in what it is that they have to offer, because it helps me to understand Western medicine more, and that's where our people are right now. So yes.
And yeah, and perhaps as time goes by, more allopathic Western doctors will incorporate. I've seen where even like the Rite Aid pharmacy is talking about, they have both a holistic and a Western.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay. So if you're a naturopath, they can recommend natural remedies over
Yes.
allopathic remedies. So I just see, like I said, those things happening. But by the same token, as we spoke of before we went live, there's a push, if you will, to regulate some of the things that we have, been able to just get readily. And I was just in Jersey at a farmer's market that I go regularly, and a flea market, not a farmer's market. And I was told that they were told that the people who sell sea moss there haven't been there lately, because they have to get a food vendor's license now, because the state of New Jersey is telling them that they have to regulate that as a food, and that there was some national, if you will, move to try to even ban the just the selling of sea moss and turmeric. Even turmeric, that's a spice.
They were talking herbs and in general.
Yeah.
General. They are trying to regulate them as they did pharmaceuticals. And my thing is, that's never going to work, because there's earth everywhere. That's all you need.
What are you going to do? Come and be the police in your, like you said, and we talked about what's in my yard. You're going to come in my yard and kill my herbs that are growing naturally that I didn't plant.
Exactly. And that's why with our land as well, the brothers will be policing our communities. We will have people standing watch 24/7. I can't give too many details, because we are meeting offline so that we can protect the vision and protect the space. But we have to protect our space, because once they know that you're there, they're coming.
Yeah, and that's so unfortunate. That's the part that makes it, that, to me, that's so sad, because we are, getting to a place now where we're waking up, and we realize that a lot of the things that we have been subjected to have not always been to our good, but many have been to our detriment. And as we are publicly have to use these types of forums to talk about the things that we feel have been done to us, it seems like, then we get censored, and we can't even tell the truth about, what's going on with us. So yes, as I said, even with the women, already, we know that we have to do things, go back to the holistic way, and we even got to figure out or remember how we connect. And some of the sisters are here I can see on the call. We have to learn how to connect offline, just as if we were picking up, a phone or something, because that's going to be the only way. It's going to be the only way to get anything done. We can't do it in open forums like this.
Absolutely, because they will shut it down. They will. And, it makes us, it puts us in a space of fear, because we're so used to everything being microwave at the touch of a finger. You know what I'm saying? But what it's going to do is it's going to force us to go back to ways of, we're going to become a communal people, because we're having to travel. Like, man, I have to have this conversation with Dr. G. I need to go out here and make sure that I can actually lay hands on her. I can touch her. I can see her. You get what I'm saying? Like, we become so detached and so desensitized to so many things, because it's so simple to just pick up the phone and type or just call. And so I think that, as scary as it is, a transition, we survived before. And so I feel like, it's gonna be beneficial for us as well to be gathering more.
Absolutely. I'm going to see if I can. I know this is going to be big if I do this, but I'm going to see if I can get this to put across the screen, because folks are asking, okay, here we go, how they can get in touch with you. So instead of it scrolling, you could take a screenshot of all of Tanisha's contact information, which is right here.
Dr. G, this number is actually my personal line. So
Oh,
you
is it?
got,
Take that.
so what I'm going to
Okay,
have
you
you
know
guys,
what? It was actually on it was on what you sent me, and I thought it was on that link. So let me come down from that. All
okay,
right.
I'm going to
I'll
give
tell
you
you.
guys a number to text. Okay, so what you can do is,
I'm going to put it down. Tell me what it is.
okay,
And
it's
I'll,
901
uh-huh.
329.
All right. And I do apologize because it was on the
It's
thing.
totally fine. It's
Okay,
totally
the last four.
8561.
8561.
Uh-huh.
All
And
right.
if you text Dr. G to that number, I'll know that you came from Dr. G, and I'll kind of know where you are in our funnel. When you text that number, you're going to get what I told you guys, the sheet from
Okay.
sheet to leading authority.
I'm going to put that in here. Text.
Okay. Dr.
Um,
G.
Dr. J.
Mm-hmm.
Do. Okay. Let me take
Yep.
This part.
And so that's our text line. And so we just answer that throughout the day.
Okay.
So you'll speak
Let
to.
me put that space there. Why did I get that space there?
Yep.
Let me fix it one more time, y'all.
And then it's 901.
All right. That's I put an extra one in there.
Mm-hmm.
901, and here's an extra space I'm going to take out. And there we go.
Yes.
All right. So here's how you contact her. Text.
Yes, there you go.
Text Dr. G to 901-329-8561. You can email here at trobinson@royaltyholistics.com. And here's their website. So if you're interested in somebody was asking about workshops, your seminars rather. So here's all of the contact. And disregard that earlier number. Do not call her on her personal line. I'm gonna be angry with y'all.
I'm good at setting boundaries in a gentle way. You know, I'm not real rude or anything. I'm just gonna direct you to the line in which you should contact me at. This is totally
okay.
fine.
And if you text Dr. G to 901-329-8561, then you are going to get. Is that the
From Sheep to Leading Authority audio for free? So I was me and a nurse. She was an ER nurse. We kind of talked about the importance of going into the doctor and being the authority. So I teach you the different things that you need to do to do that, and tell you different questions and things that you should ask your doctor. So that's pretty much the first step in doing anything when it comes to working with me, is listening to that, so that you can kind of switch the things in your healthcare team. And then if you text that number during business hours, so Monday through Friday, 8:30 in the rising to 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. My husband and I, it's just us right now. We're going to have a virtual assistant soon. So we get back to you guys as quick as we can. And that number is for general things. So if it's something real quick, hey, I got a sty on my eye, what can you do? I'll text you back, hey, take you some eye bright. You know what I'm saying? Things like, it's really for quick general things. And then if you have something that's really specific to an ailment, or hey, I'm on these medications, I'm dealing with this, I need some assistance, I recommend that you guys book a consultation. If you go to the website, type in wellness, you can book a consultation there. My schedule fills up super fast, so it's best to go ahead and get it booked and then get your blood work done so that you can email it over to me. So anything that's really quick, that's easy for me to answer, I am open. I'm an open book. I'm willing to share all the information. But if it requires me to sit, as I said, I'm really specific in treating. So if it requires me to actually sit down to look at specifics and take time away from my family, then book a consultation, please.
and I of course I will tell you all, since we're at it, that if you have not gotten an AO scan, either gotten your own personal scan done, or you can get your own scanner. I'm going to be sharing, I guess probably of mine, because I wouldn't send anybody else's. I'll do a scan, Tanisha, to send to you, so that you will see what the reports are like, because so you will see how really concise. I mean, it's chock full of more than anything you're going to get regularly.
Are we able to do one like distant, or do I have to be near you to do it?
I have clients in Trinidad.
Okay, please. Like, I would love to get that service so that I can, and maybe we can do some type of collaboration there or something like that.
Or you could add it into what you're doing, because that way, instead of sending them somewhere else, and particularly even if they don't have
Yes,
insurance
yes.
to get it done, then you can actually do that. You can, work.
I remember us speaking about that. So definitely I'm gonna go ahead and grab one because that's gonna be so beneficial. Clients won't have to wait to get blood work. They don't have to fight their doctors for it. We can definitely do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to look to see if there are any more, if there are any questions. Greetings, Dr. J, for your guidance. Have a much appreciated. What is that said? And help. Uh, and you cannot go outside groundages. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, I get it. Okay. I was trying to see what this was. I'll put it up here. She says, greetings, Dr. G and Tanisha, for your guidance and help. Much appreciated. For those that need grounding, but it's cold where you are and you cannot go outside, grounding sheets you can buy from Amazon. Yeah. I have grounding sheets. The fact is that I brought a new bed that's so high that they don't make the grounding sheets for the, like the deep mattresses, but actually I'm standing right now. My feet are on. I have a grounding pad on my under my desk right here.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah,
Me and my children, we're always in the summertime. We're barefoot. Like everybody in our community knows. Like, oh, them
right.
people stay without shoes on. Like, like for what?
Yeah, we need to connect. We need to reconnect to Mother Earth. We need to get that connection. So thank you for that. Thank you for that, Empress. Yes, grounding is good, and the sheets will help you. When you can't go out when it's cold outside. I think that this was a great build.
I
A
do as well.
lot of good information. Also, you guys are watching. You see every now and then Dr. G's putting up something new. And Tanisha's not going to mind me putting this up, so I can at least say to y'all, text me if you want if you want more information about this. I'm trying to find it. Here we go. Here we go. Here's my little thing. It says, "What's lightweight X39? Want to know more? Text X39." Everybody should know my number by now by heart. 302-345-0500. I want to tell y'all about this right here. If you don't know what it is, you need to text me and I will tell you what it is. But you got to text me. You know the number. Just text X39 in your name and then I'll give you some information and we go from there.
Like I just screenshot it because I'm going to be texting you too.
Okay, well, I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you. You all, I love y'all, but you know what? I need you all to share this video. This information was it's so vital, so important. Tanisha is you are such a knowledgeable woman, and I'm so happy that you ditched engineering and decided to go into healing. Again, because like I said, when I heard you on the Willie D live show, I said, I got to get her on the show. And I know when you called me back, finally, I was engaged and trying to get through the line engaged, and you don't usually do it the way you did it, but you said it was something, there was a connection. And I thank you, for overriding your normal way of coming on a show and coming on Office Hours with Dr. G. I have a tremendous audience, and even I don't know how many people are on, not as many as sometimes that are on, but by tomorrow a lot more will have seen it. And that's the one thing I love about it, because once it's up, now they go, because a lot of folks, I know that there's some things going on tonight, and I know Grand Sheik Taj is teaching tonight, but they'll look at it tomorrow or later on tonight, and they'll have this information, and that's what's important. That is what's important. And so, if you all contact Tanisha, make sure you let her know that you heard her on the Office or Dr. G show. Just say Dr. G, and she'll know who it is. And we appreciate you. And please, if you could come back as you progress on the project of, with what's happening with the land. I know a lot of brothers and sisters would love to know, because we're always knowing that we have to get land and we have to come together. And so, we applaud you, you all for the first of many, many acres, 13, great start, and, thousands to go. So we appreciate we so appreciate you for sharing your knowledge and your love for healing and wellness with us. So again, thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to, before I give you my thank yous, also, if you're interested in getting more information regarding the land, because very little will be shared via social media for safety, you can text tribe to that same number. So, you can text Dr. G. I have just different community segments based on the information that people need. So I'm not flooding you with stuff that you only ask for. Okay. I want you guys to be in different segments. So if you want information and updates about when we host the town hall meeting, which will be when we get the people who are interested in being a part, because it's not just, hey, this is our land, you do what we say. No, we want to build a community where we get to determine the policies. We get to determine how things happen and flow. And so we'll be hosting town hall meetings starting in January. So if you want to be a part of that, you can text tribe to that very same number that's on the screen. But with that being said, Dr. G, thank you so much. I am someone who loves my elders, and it lights up my soul when I get the approval, when I get the ashe from an elder. I do not take this lightly. Thank you so much for sharing your light, your love, and your audience with me. And I will gladly come back anytime that you request. So thank you so much. I honor you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank each and every one of you all. I love y'all. Sometimes, let somebody know that they need to look at this video and they need to contact the sister. Because I know there's a lot of information that she gave that is sparking. A lot of times you'll say things and you don't know how many people are listening or will be listening, that they say, well, I had that diagnosis or I had that problem. Well, there's hope and there's help. So again, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
All right. Peace, you guys.
Peace, 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 peace. Yeah, we are going to go, and I am going to try to go to bed at a decent hour tonight.
I say, oh.
I say, oh. All right, y'all. All right. All righty. Dr. G. Really? Who's she? Yeah, that's me. 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 Dr. G. Really? Who's she? Yeah, that's me.